some people still use energy drink. Before the game, you go and load yourself with energy drink. If you take energy drink, do you know that energy drink has got lots of caffeine that can get your heart to start racing? You understand? And if your heart is over racing, remember that you're also playing under a very, very hot sun. Those things can lead to sudden cardiac arrest. Again, what we are trying to say in essence is that we want to educate players. We want to organize seminars. We want the coaches to understand the importance of these things so that they can pass it across to their players. And so that we avoid, big injuries, sudden cardiac death in sport, people dying on the pitch of plays a lot, but just that we don't talk about them. People say them out. Instead, they will say probably it is the will of God, or we just cover it under one. Why should you die?
Spiritual attack, village people.
Yeah, exactly. There's a spiritual attack.
Welcome to this Game of Legends podcast. Legends and Sports Medicine Part 2 highlights the need for coaches to understand basic health science and the need for specialized medical care. The discussion also covers the creation of structured education programs for athletes and for grassroots involvement in sports management.
Okay, please continue your train of thought.
The reason why a doctor is there for you is first of all to even do education. So there's something we call primary, secondary, and tertiary care. All right, primary care is how can we prevent injury in the first place? And it's very hard to prevent injuries, I must say, but you could actually have points as to what can make somebody get injured. And now, try to prevent that thing from happening. So one of the reasons, all right, why you have a doctor, a physio in your team should be education. Education, okay, when you're playing this amount of water you should take, right? This is why you should hydrate, okay? This is the kind of food you should take before a game. All right. So, because if you don't have enough food, some people believe that okay, before a game you should not eat. And just begin to ask yourself, who told you that? They'll say it's one senior man. I know one senior man that used to do that, and the senior man they play. And I'm like, okay, but what the senior man is doing is not really the best practice. All right. So it's about really educating them even before we treating them. In fact, personally, I don't even want to treat an injury because a lot of them cannot even afford to even manage the, MRI. If you have any injury, X-ray are not likely to pick ligaments, tears, and all of that.
No, it's just a bone.
Naira. A lot of them can't even afford 100,000 naira. A lot of them can't even afford to go and see a doctor. Maybe pay 10,000 naira. So I understand the scenario. I understand, the context we have. So why not let us do a lot of, health education? You understand? Which is what I've been preaching all this while. So why should you eat, for example? What kind of food should you eat before a game? There's something called carbohydrate loading. All right. You should do a lot of carbohydrate loading before a game. After a game, what should you eat? What kind of fluid should you take? So that we don't want you to buy Gatorade. I'm not saying you should go and buy Gatorade because you might not be able to afford all those sport drinks. But we have alternatives that you can also use to hydrate. Now, these are the things that an educated person brings into the table. These are the things that the coaches should even be telling them. Now, even if you don't have a doctor in your team, the coaches should be very, very eager to want to go and learn these things. Okay, how would I know a player is dehydrated? So, for example, a player comes to a question, coach, if you be like, say, I have a headache, you're not trying to say, I just feel tired. And the coach just say, well, just go to that chemist and buy that Clippenac and you'll be fine. But coaches should have some basic understanding of things that could probably be much more serious. So the coaches could say, okay, what's your urine color like? And player says, oh, if you like my urine is dark, is color, okay, maybe you are, dehydrated. Are you taking enough water? Some will say, oh, she be like, say, I get headache each time I finish playing, and how they do me somehow. The coach should not be like, okay, could it be that maybe you have, high blood pressure? Could it be something with your heart? These are the things. But if the coaches does not even know that sometimes a sudden cardiac death in sport could be because a player has heart issues, could be because what the player is thinking. Some people still use energy drink. Before the game, you go and load yourself with energy drink. If you take energy drink, do you know that energy drink has got lots of caffeine that can get your heart to start racing? You understand? And if your heart is over racing, remember that you're also playing under a very, very hot sun. Those things can lead to sudden cardiac arrest. Again, what we are trying to say in essence is that we want to educate players. We want to organize seminars. We want the coaches to understand the importance of these things so that they can pass it across to their players. And so that we avoid, big injuries, sudden cardiac death in sport, people dying on the pitch of plays a lot, but just that we don't talk about them. People say them out. Instead, they will say probably it is the will of God, or we just cover it under one. Why should you die?
Spiritual attack, village people.
Yeah, exactly. There's such a spiritual attack, but it's really so sad. And we really need to get this information out. We need very, very strong advocacy, and this advocacy can be done by you senior players. I mean, they listen to you guys more than people like us.
I bring up Weibo system, Weibo standard. You don't need to.
Yeah, I totally understand. We need to begin to really, talk. I was talking with Abu Aziz the other day, and he also shared the same. I'm sure you know Abu Aziz. Yeah, talking about the fact that we need to really take it all out. All out. In fact, I have treated NPFL players while I was in Nigeria. I'm surprised that even some NPFL players still have this very good mentality. You understand? They have this very good mentality, even in the NPFL. So if NPFL is good mentality, then a grassroots player that looks up to them, obviously will have the mentality.
It's so bad that athletes, the younger ones these days, don't want any sort of mentorship or without money. It's even worse that they know that someone like me has played outside of Nigeria for many years. Senior man Alpha, what you carry call, if I try to do my best to, help sensitize them, mentor them, it's like, bros, you're not talking money. All this ones you are saying. So there's something I've been advocating for. I'll try to connect it from different angles. So one aspect is from the club themselves. Number one, I have a problem when the average coach or local grassroots coach in Nigeria doubles or triples or does everything as a coach, as a scout. He's the agent. He's also the one managing the players. So he's the physiotherapist. He's the club doctor. I have a problem with that. It will never work with that kind of mentality. Number two, from the people, I push for people's involvement. As far as I'm concerned, everyone is an athlete. As far as I'm concerned, when I was my masters, that's one of the things I pushed for. Fitness, your health, you have to be involved in sports one way or the other to live a decent, comfortable life. What I would like to see is support for grassroots athletes. There are doctors everywhere. I've got them as friends. Some of them love sports. They support football clubs, die-hard fans. What are you doing to support your local club? That's what I tell them. It's been an hour a week, could be an hour a month, go to some local, could be free tests from hospitals. We have to support these guys. That's what I tell them. That is your contribution to humanity. Apart from the fact that I play football or I teach sports or I try to mentor, educate the younger ones, I see it as my own contribution to humanity. The Nigeria we want to experience will not suddenly happen if we do not identify certain areas in the society that needs our assistance. And this is one of those things. It's not just doctors. If you're a carpenter, you can knock around small seats for them to sit down and watch a game. If you're a painter, you can. So it's one of the things I've advocated for. And lastly, I think there's a disconnect within, I might be wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a disconnect between the medical industry and sports. Two of the guys that I know that died recently, they were rushed to the hospital. They were sent back from the hospital. One of them was not registered. The other one did not have money. So I think this is one of the gaps we need to bridge, And you mentioned Waka Fit. If athletes can afford 1,000 for consultation or what have you, are there groups of hospitals that you work with that give exclusive access? Or I'd like to have a clearer picture.
Okay, so maybe I should start from the last question and I take it upward.
Okay.
Now, sports medicine care is highly specialized. And highly specialized is because even in our medical schools, the average doctor is not taught about how to, for example, manage an injury.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? So those that are interested in sport medicine will probably, after being a doctor, will probably go and do a master's. You get, I mean, I have a master's in sports medicine, from the UK. And, that is how we get our understanding and all of that. So, therefore, if a player gets injured and you just send the player to a general hospital, it's very unlikely. And I'm not trying to say the doctors are not, professional, but the doctors might struggle to really understand the peculiarity of that case if the doctor is not trained, in managing sports, in managing sport injuries. You get what I'm trying to say? So, Waka Fit, basically is working with just one hospital at the moment. And that's because that hospital is known for treated loads of NPL players, treated loads of players from abroad. In fact, we have players coming from Dubai sometimes, come there. I don't know, I know a guy called Dr. Salami. So he's done loads and loads of ACL surgeries, meniscus repair. And so he's a doctor that understands the peculiarity, of treating sport injuries, etc. So we're working only with our hospital, and hopefully we would begin to expand. But expansion means that we also have to develop capacity. We need to train people, train doctors, train physiotherapists on how to manage sport injuries, so that we're building a capacity of medics, all right, that understand how to manage sudden cardiac death, how to understand what is hydration in sports, understand what kind of food you should eat, understand, what are the banned substances and all of that. Again, our partnership with this one hospital is quite amazing. So again, what this hospital have decided to do for us is that with as low as that amount, 1,000, 1,500 monthly, if you need to see a doctor, just walk into the hospital, all right, and you get your consultation. I mean, to see a doctor in Nigeria in a private hospital, you spend close to 10K to see a doctor in a private hospital.
Spend more in turn.
Yeah, you spend more. Also, if you, I mean, for those paying maybe 1,000, 1,500 monthly, if you need to do a physiotherapy, most of them will need physiotherapy anyways, right? Instead of you paying maybe like 6K for physiotherapy, which is the average amount of which they do physiotherapy in Lagos, you're gonna be paying maybe like 1,500. Is that discounted? If you need to do an MRI, we're partnered with a particular diagnostic center. Instead of you paying the 100K, we say you go and pay 70K. Also, as part of the 1,000 you're paying, or 1,000 paying monthly, you would also have access to education. Because again, when you go and see a doctor, first, you see a doctor not because you have an injury. You see a doctor for prevention. The doctor should also educate you. So because you've also been paying 1,000, 1,500 monthly, we would also organize seminars for the club as well. Understand if they need information. So it's quite a very robust package. So hopefully one club should start with us next month. Again, we can't take a lot of clubs in at the moment because we are working on hospital. In fact, we said we'll prefer football clubs around Alimosho local government because the hospital is around.
I'm based in Alimosho. Which hospital, please?
Okay, so the hospital is called Summit Orthopedic Hospital. It's in Egbeda. It's in Karimulaka. So I used to work in that hospital. I still have close ties to the hospital. So basically, it's more like a community social, responsibility, even to put it that way.
Yes.
Beyond that, we want to see pilots what we can do. I mean, pilot it and see how we can get this started. And hopefully, if this works, we know it's going to work, we can begin to speak to international bodies, or also begin to have a sports injury fund for people that are in low resource countries like Nigeria. Now, even in the UK, it is challenging for people playing grassroots to manage injuries. In the UK, where I am, if a grassroots player gets injured, yes, there is the public hospital, but you probably have to wait so long. So a lot of them cannot even afford to go private, even in the UK, for grassroots footballers, for those even playing non-league football and all of that, because more money is not in those places. So what we want to do is not peculiar with just with Nigeria, but what we're doing now is very, very novel. Let's see how it works, and because you're paying 1K per month per head for your player, technically you have a doctor.
Technically, yes.
Those doctors are employed by you, but technically you have a doctor. You get out of trying to say. Again, that is what we are doing basically. So just be able to like bridge that gap and see what's can happen going forward. I think your other question was about what? Lost my thoughts now.
So the first one was the coaches doing everything. The coaches are the managers, the scouts there. So can a coach also get training or some sort of crash course on first aid and the likes? Okay, yeah, that's the first one. The second one was people's contribution, being part of grassroots, not just leaving everything to the coaches to handle. So like-minded, well-meaning individuals in the neighborhood around should also contribute to being part of doctors, for instance.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you also asked a question also in that line that I think you said there's no link between the medical industry and even sport. Well, again, that also links to other professionals. And I think it's boils on the fact that sports is not yet an industry in Nigeria. It's still not yet that robust industry. You get what I'm trying to say? Now, when sport becomes an industry, you find out that there will be something that lawyers can do. There will be something that teachers can do. There will be something that engineers can do. All right. When it becomes a robust industry, it has the potential to become a big industry. In fact, if we do what we need to do, but before it gets there, what can we do now? That's part of what I'm doing. That's part of what you're doing at the moment. All right. And we can only just tell other people, come into sports. You might have to do lots of things pro bono at the moment. But again, that's the way to just go about it. Then another thing about the fact that say coaches in Nigeria. Now, ideally, you should have coach just coaching. You should have scouts just scouting. You get just scouting. But again, sometimes some of those things are not possible in Nigeria. In fact, Nigeria sometimes can just be a very, very unreal place. Just a real place. But I've come to realize that how can we make best use of what we have and still do things properly? So, coaches, we need to begin to do a lot of structured coaching education. I am not talking about coaching going to NIS because when I talk about coaching, people say actually there's one NIS in stadium. No, I'm talking about private individuals coming into these things, organizing deliberate coaching education. Coaching education is not only about the technical aspect of coaching. It's not about fact, okay, these are the tactics and all of that. Even things like hydration, things like food, what the player should take, how to recognize when the player is getting injured, when to send your player to, how to relate with the words or the parents of your footballers. We need to begin to like be deliberate to do those things and let not, because sometimes we assume that these coaches, because they are good technically, because they know how to have a good tactic, we feel that it would automatically amount to they are good in every other areas. No. So we must be very deliberate to organize this thing. And we can do a lot at the grassroots. You understand? Because there's very little bureaucratic bottleneck. So at the grassroots, we can bring players together. We can organize a yearly conference. We can organize things, and not just about those conferences. We can have a structure on ground. There's something that they do in the UK is called non-league football. And non-league football is like a structure for everybody not in the league. You understand? But there's a structure of education, there's a structure of training, because at the non-league level, there are peculiarities. There are a lot of peculiarities. You can't compare them to those playing league football or elite football, as it were. So again, when we have that structure in place, then other people will also fit into it. What can I do? And you'll be surprised the nurses will come, the artisans will come, the engineers will come, and everybody can come. So what should we do now? We need to begin to collaborate. I mean, you and I, everybody. All right. Well, how can we organize? I mean, how can we have a non-league organization? You get it is non-league, but we do everything because there are peculiarities that we need to understand that about people playing at the grassroots is different from those playing up. Now, because the non-league organization would also begin to help players understand that even if you cannot play football professionally, there are other areas you can venture into. A lot of people don't know that. Not everybody would play.
I have been preaching that for many years. The fact
Yes.
that you do not get a professional contract does not make you a failure in football. You can still contribute.
Exactly.
You can still
Yeah.
do other things to support the younger ones coming up.
Yeah, a lot of other things. And that's why we must begin to now organize, diploma courses, which I've not seen. Now, we have a lot of people that are sports photographers that have learned on the job, not because they have a structured learning program. So, what can we do at the grassroots for us to have maybe an organization that can come and deliver courses that people can have a diploma, for example, in sport photography, in sport journalism, something similar to an OND, for example, so that even if they cannot play football, they can still build a career in the sporting industry. All right. So we need to begin to see how we can, because we don't have this, and we don't have diploma courses, short courses, well structured short courses that these players can do if eventually they will not be able to play football at the long run.
Wow, my head, I'm just going around in circles. I could continue for 5 hours, but that's not probably advisable. So I will end with this question. Are you willing, interested, and available to give these courses? Or do you know people who are readily available in case we find people who are interested?
So now I've thought about it, and I've also said if it has to be done, it has to be very, very good. You can't do a shady thing. And I've thought that the best place to start is to start very little. And starting little will probably mean, for example, having regular outreaches to these clubs. Regular outreaches could be once every month or twice a month. We are going to them, giving them every education that they need to have. And we're also speaking to coaches speaking to club. Make sure that you leave out maybe one day a week or 2 days a week for your player education. Because a lot of this don't even have a day or two a week for them to go and refresh and learn. It's just about football, football, football. You get, or some of them also work anyways. So we need to do that structured outreaches, structured education with maybe 5 clubs. Let's see, do it consistently for a year.
And then we observe the progression, the results with analysis, and then
Yes, exactly. Then do a structured research. A survey. Before we start, this is what we want to do next. That is the way to go. And when we do it, publish it, present. We say we're going to present this in FIFA conferences. See, there's money in FIFA to actually support these projects. There is even the NFL. There are monies to support all these little things, but because nobody has taken an initiative, it is very hard to take this initiative to actually get these things done. First is the money. We need to say 5 clubs, draw a timetable with them that 2 days a week will be your educational day, or 1 day in a week will be your educational day for your club. And that one day we're going to have facilitators to come and talk to you about various things. Everything, not even necessarily football, everything. Because we need to begin to build education. Let them begin to
we have to
think.
expand your horizon.
Expand your
different-
horizon. You get what I'm trying to say? That is what we need. So that in the future, and hopefully Nigeria will get that, we'll have a policy that guides opening up an academy. So that not anybody can just go and open an academy because you have money and because they are talent.
That's the strict prerequisites.
So exactly. So that we should prerequisite. But we cannot say that because there is no one doing the right thing.
Yeah, the standard has to be set.
That has to be set. And that is the way to go. I'm ready for us to have the discussion about that.
Dr. Jimi, I'm available. Let's start.
But 5 clubs, we're going to draw a curriculum for you. So to be as if your players are also schooling.
I like this.
You're rising.
I like this.
I think 5 is too much. Like 2 or 3. And we do it consistently. And after 1 year, we publish a paper. This is what we've done. This is what I want to do further.
Let's continue this conversation. If you leave with me, I will just continue talking. Let's continue this conversation at a time. And even hopefully record another session. This was worth the wait. It was worth the wait.
It is. Well, I didn't even know I had this idea on top of my head as well. And that's why
That's why I enjoy conversations like this. Things just pop out without knowing, and this is the benefit of conversations. Why I like to talk to people and discuss. One of my motivation for starting the podcast.
We do a lot of things in the sport industry in Nigeria, but we don't have structures to them. So nobody can replicate them. And that is the hardest part of the sporting industry. Doing these dirty jobs now, having like a structure. I know it's hard in Nigeria, but with the grassroots, there are very little bottlenecks. The bottlenecks at the grassroots.
I agree. I've always believed that the change we're looking for, rather than top down, should be bottom up.
Bottom up.
Start from I agree completely. 100%. I agree. I agree. So essentially, to create a system at the grassroots where even those at the top will be the ones to call us and say, these guys are doing big things, so we need.
Yeah, these guys are doing it. So let us invest in it. Because they know that, because they understand that doing it for the grassroots would eventually mean, something for them in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here. Let's continue the conversation, Dr. Jimi. I like people to give last words for the viewers before we conclude.
My last words are that we need to get working in sports in Nigeria if we want to really build a viable sport industry. By getting to work means that we need to put replicable structures on ground that can really move the sporting industry. Replicable structures basically means that, setting up viable structures, being deliberate to do a lot of player education, grassroots. That's one way I think we can go forward, basically. Yeah, concentrating up. That's the way.
Powerful. Thank you so much. Viewers on YouTube, social media, and listeners on podcast platforms, thank you for joining us once again, and see you next time. Have a good evening.
Take care. All right. Thanks so very much.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. To follow our journey on this mission, kindly do not forget to subscribe and check us out on social media. Until next time.